Nest box monitor training. We are part of Cornell Lab of Ornithology's Nest Watch program. And that's a nationwide program.
Is she clicking?
Oh, there. Okay, so order of business. If you volunteered here before, you know that there's porta-johns outside. Little River Wetlands Program mission to preserve and protect wetlands of the Little River and to educate people about the wetlands and the wildlife area. So my name is Nancy Kilduski. I'm a master naturalist. I'm retired. I have done this monitoring since I think 2018. And believe me, when I first started, I knew what robin nests look like. I didn't know anything else. But I wanted to learn. And I remember Freya taking me out to show me the nests, and when I saw a tree swallow nest, I was hooked. I had to do it. So why monitor the nests? Well, we were part of a citizen science project, and the data that you would be collecting if you choose to participate, this goes into a nationwide data bank that can be used by any scientist in the US and probably the world. When you think about how many people might do high-level ornithological research, how many people would that be? How many people have their doctorates in that field of study? Probably not a lot, but birds are everywhere. There's tons of them. So those scientists really need the data that we can gather. So also, there's another reason to monitor nests. Here at Little River, all the nests that we monitor, with a couple of exceptions, are in boxes. And by monitoring them, we can make sure the boxes are clean, that they're free of predators, that they're free of invasive species, and we can help maximize nesting success. So, how to do it? There'll be a lot about how to do it here, and then of course your questions. I'm hoping that this part won't take too long and we'll have time to go outside and look at a real nest box. So, here's a little bit about Cornell Lab of Ornithology. They have an excellent website. You can go to it, nestwatch.org, and I encourage you to do that. Nestwatch is, of course, national, and it's a year-round project. Here, we just run it from spring to fall. And they accept data on all kinds of nests. They do not have to be in boxes. So this is citizen science, and by participating, you are being a scientist. We ask that you get certified. Nestwatch.org has a little quiz you can take, information you can read. You will be finding the nests, which that'll be easy. They'll be in the boxes. Record your data, and the data get submitted online. Your data sheet will come to me, and I'll put it into the computer. So it's a science project. So what is the purpose of this project? Tracking the status and trends of reproduction in birds. So we're interested in when the nesting occurs, how many eggs are laid, how many hatch, and how many survivors there are. You know, raising young, it's very risky for the birds. And like all good research, there are questions to be answered. Research starts with questions, and hopefully we get answers. What are the changes in reproductive activities? does our monitoring, does the fact of our monitoring, does that impact the birds and their nesting? Can scientists use our data to track changes to the environment and the climate, I might add? And what factors limit breeding success in areas? So that's 24 successful nests.
What makes it successful? Like,
A success is at least one fledgling.
Okay.
At least one fledgling. And so, as nest watchers, we have a code of conduct. And it's pretty important. I mean, we want to eliminate this kind of thing.
that's funny.
So, raising young in the wild, it's a risky business, and we want to minimize the risks to the birds. We want to prevent accidental harm, parental desertion, or attracting predators. So these are items from the Code of Conduct, and that's in the nestwatch.org website. Learn about the birds and their nesting cycle. Plan for your visit. Choose appropriate times. Examine the nests carefully. Be careful in your approach to the nests. Minimize disturbance and do not handle birds or eggs.
So no omelets.
No omelets, unless they're house sparrows. Don't lead a dead-end trail. Respect private land. And understand the Migratory Bird Treaty Act.
What do you mean don't leave a dead end trail?
There's not a picture. Here's a dead-end trail. Personally, I think a predator, if they're interested in a nest, they're going to find it. But as you approach a nest, if you can come in one direction and leave in the other direction, that's ideal. Mm-hmm. And there'll be some places where you can't do that because of how the location is, but minimize the risk. And here's the big one, Migratory Bird Treaty Act. This is something I could stand to learn more about too. It's a federal law that protects migratory birds from people. And I have to say, it's not just migratory birds. Some of the birds it protects don't migrate, but there are native birds. It was enacted in 1918, that long ago, and it's updated periodically. I think for us, citizen scientists, the most important thing is to know what birds are protected and what birds are not. And I can give you a short list. House sparrows are not protected, so you're allowed to remove their nests and destroy them, and destroy the birds too, if you have the stomach for that. Starlings are not protected. But other birds, even birds whose behavior you might not like, for instance, cowbirds, who nest in other birds' nests, they're a protected species. You may not mess with them. So if you decide you want to be a nest watcher, take the quiz, get a certificate. It's really easy. It's really easy. You can go over it as many times as you want. So what might happen when you're monitoring? We monitor from April to the end of July. Sometimes we run into August. Sometimes there's a few stragglers. Actually, we're seeing more and more with climate change, I think. But what you might see, the first few weeks you go out, the bluebirds might decide to start a nest, and you make your visits, and you record your data, and at the end there were some fledglings, at least one, and this was a successful brood, a successful nest. So what might happen after that, tree swallow might decide, well, that's a nice box, I want to nest in that. Tree swallow will come in, raise a brood, and have a successful nest. Then after that, the box might be used again in that new brood. So in here, it happens. A nest could fail. A nest could fail. It could be predation, or perhaps the eggs just never hatched, or there was a windstorm, or someone knocked the box down. So, but it's a continuum of activity. It's not just one brood and then you're done. It's all through the season. So some definitions. The nest site, that's actually the location of the nest. And as you saw on the previous slide, it can have multiple attempts. So all of the boxes, all of the nests that we're going to monitor are in boxes. A nesting attempt, several days, I would say even several weeks from laying the first egg to the end point, the empty nest. And in fact, actually, we collect data on the nest building. The data sheet will ask you, is there a nest? Is it complete? Is it in progress? Nesting attempts, well, as we've seen, there can be big success. All the birds fledged. There can be some sadness here, a failure, eggs, the young consumed by predators, eggs fail to hatch, or this happens too. A nest was taken over by another species of bird. House wrens are famous for that. That's nasty behavior, but house wrens are protected. A visit, I mentioned visit. A visit is your outing to see what's in the nest and make your observations. Here in our project here, we like you to monitor once a week. And you may have a partner on your trail. You may decide you want to alternate weeks or go out together. That's up to you.
Or have coverage if you're on vacation.
Absolutely. Good idea. Thank you. So here's the data sheet. This is the complicated version. This is the Cornell version. And they collect everything. The information up here, this is information that we have already put into the database. What you would be filling out, basically, is this kind of information. And I'd like you to use these codes. And if you decide you're going to be a watcher, I'll send you a list of the codes to use. It's a lot easier to do the data entry if I have the proper codes.
And if you forget, Nancy will remind you again. Do I need to send you the codes again? I can.
Yes, yes. So this is a data sheet that we'd like you to use. It's a lot simpler. You put in the date, the box number. All these boxes are numbered. Eggs. Now eggs, if you look in there and you don't see any, it's 0. If you look in there and the nest is full of twigs, etc., and you can't really tell, it's U for unknown. If you can't even get close to the nest box because maybe it's surrounded by water or maybe birds are dive bombing you, that's a blank. You didn't get to see anything. And there's room for you to make your notes.
Last year I had a snapping turtle at the post of the box.
Yeah, I would think that was a cause for a blank.
It was a blank.
Snapping turtle at nest. 0 is important, and it's important to know the difference between 0, unknown, and unknown. The nest blank, that's important. A blank and a U is not the same. U means there is something there and you just don't know what it is. Blank means you couldn't even look, or you didn't even look for whatever. So, and 0 means you looked and you can verify, you verified that the count is 0. So here's a sample data sheet by Max Finder, who finds a lot of nests. The box numbers, this is the code for complete nest, remained on the nest, no young, management activity, no management activity. Sometimes there's management activity you have to do, like you encountered a nest that was predated, the eggs were all destroyed. You'd want to clean that out and record that you cleaned out the nest. Or if you encountered a house sparrow nest, you'd want to remove that for sure and write in that you remove the nest. Here's one. Here's a blank. The box had wasps. If you find wasps, we've had some very brave monitors who are willing to
Eradicate them.
relocate them, chase them out, whatever. Wasps are pretty dangerous.
Yeah.
Yeah, they can sting multiple times, and don't take a chance. Really, this is the part that I do. I'm asking you to submit your data sheets on a regular basis so I can keep them logged in. Then when there's a change, when you notice the nest is empty, you'll write nest empty, I believe the bird's fledged. Then I will make a summary in the database of that activity. And based on your data, we'll have some estimate of when the first egg was laid and when the first chick fledged. Those are things that you probably won't see, but you can do a pretty good guesstimate of what. So, as we said, nesting is risky. There's a high risk of abandonment. But just because you think the nest has been abandoned, eggs can be viable for up to 2 weeks. So we have kind of a 1-month rule because we don't know exactly, probably don't know exactly what date the nest was abandoned. So if you've been observing and you've recorded all your data and you notice that it's been a month since there was any activity, let me know and I'll probably say, good, clean it out, we'll start over. Predation, snakes, raccoons, squirrels. I don't think we've had many problems with squirrels. We had one really interesting thing happen, I think, the year before last. We found a snake skin in a nest box. And this had us all going. European sparrows, house sparrows, I use the description house sparrow. There is a slight difference. They are all invasive, and it's house sparrows that we have here. They have speckly eggs. They have really trashy nests, and they often just fill the whole box up. They might have feathers in there. They might have a piece of plastic.
Nancy, if it's full of a lot of trash and things, would you recommend that we just throw away the nest, like in the trash?
Yes. But again, if you're not sure, often a house sparrow nest starts out looking like a bluebird nest. If you're not sure, wait. If you're not sure, take a picture, post it on GroupMe in our little group, and we can advise, or let me know, and I can come out and look too. And who do we want to see? We want to see bluebirds, but they are not the only birds using our nest boxes. They make very, very neat nests. They use very fine grasses. And the female builds the nest, and when there's enough material in there, she'll sit in there and wiggle and move around until there's a nice cup formed. So bluebird eggs are usually blue, almost always, but last year we had a bluebird nest that had white eggs. White eggs.
Interesting.
Yeah, it's a natural variation, but it's very unusual. Tree swallows. We get a lot of tree swallows. This is just a beautiful area for tree swallows with trees. The tree swallow nest, it looks a little bit like a bluebird nest on the bottom. I'm thinking it's not so finely woven, but tree swallows feather their nest. They add in feathers. They use thicker vegetation usually. And they have this very creamy color, white colored nest. House wrens, I personally like house wrens, even though they have some nasty habits. House wrens really prefer to nest in a wooded area, and their nests are full of sticks. They have this kind of pale salmon, orangey, speckly look. I find them very hard to monitor their nests because they don't build the nest up so high. They fill the box. They also do something else. They bring in spider eggs so that when the spiders hatch, they'll eat pests in the nest. So usually when the box is this full, they pick a corner and they scoop it out, and their eggs are in one small corner. How they get in and out of the box, I have no idea, but they do. Our boxes are on 5 different routes. So how to do it? Well, schedule it, plan your visit. It's recommended that you don't go real early in the morning or late in the day. Also, avoid rainy or very windy days. Really, my rule of thumb is if you don't feel like going out in that weather, don't monitor. If there is a nest with eggs or with hatchlings, mother will be sheltering. Use tools. You'll probably need a Phillips screwdriver to open the box. You may or may not want to use an inspection mirror. Of course, you want your data sheet. Please don't rely on your memory. And once you've made your recording, share the data. Get the data sheet to me. And there are several ways to do it. You can scan it in the computer and email it to me. You can take a photo and text it to me. All those are acceptable. Also, we've got a group on GroupMe where we share information. If you see something exciting and interesting, if you have a question, it's a great way to share. And I have to say, it's a good way of keeping up what's happening with your nests, particularly if you're sharing a trail and you're only going out every other week. I mean, the birds are on it 24/7, but we can't do that. There's some of the tools, the Phillips screwdriver, or phone for the GroupMe app, an inspection mirror. Some have lights, some don't. I think Little River's got some in the office, and they can be checked out. Another thing that I didn't mention is Little River also has a nice plasticized information sheet with pictures of various nests and eggs, and that's a useful tool. Those can be checked out of the office too. And of course, the data sheet, clipboard is handy. Not everyone needs it. So you're wondering, this really is phenology. This is where we're making observations of wildlife over time. And I think we're finding out some important things. I think we're finding out some things that Some birds are nesting earlier, some are staying later. So I encourage you to sign up to volunteer. If you think you want to volunteer, please be sure your email address is on there.
Well, I was just going to say that one of the things I just kind of picked up on is if I'm walking towards a box and I see kids or teenagers on the trail, I just walk past the box. I can come back to it because I thought I don't need to show them that you can walk up to it, unscrew it, open it up. I don't think they'd be malicious. I think they'd be curious, but that's not going to help the birds. So
Yeah, that's a good idea. That's a good idea. And are you ready to go outside and look at a box?